functions that you can use, including voice activated, which I thought was really cool. You can actually say the phrase that you want it to do, so if you need it, I think the phrases are shoot, capture, and smile will all take pictures. So I thought that was really interesting because obviously the technology on our phones are getting so advanced that we don't even have to hit the
It's called Color FX?
This one is called, yes, Color FX.
By
And then
splash
the,
color? By splash color?
yes, and then if the icon for it should match up as well. I tried to pull those so that you'd be able to find them a little bit more easily if you wanted to. So this one has a live mode feature. It also has a lot of distort options, which some of them don't, which I think is a lot of fun as well. Those are some features that you don't really get with normal ones. The timer, like we said earlier, burst mode will take multiple pictures at once. Time lapse is a really interesting one because it'll automatically punch through 10 images and give those all to you in one swift motion. And then if you want to later, you can turn those into fast motion GIFs or things later on when you become more advanced in it. Stable shot is also a feature here, and then you have all of the filters that you can push through on as well. Pixay. I played with this one for probably a solid 3 hours because I was having a lot of fun with it. This was really interesting because I hadn't seen a ton of apps that you could do where you could push out chat bubbles, which was a lot of fun to send to people. You also have a lot of these same filter apps, but these are more adjustment apps than filter apps for aesthetic purposes. So you can increase the exposure, contrast, saturation, play with the colors a little bit more, sharpen them. And then you can do pop color, which you can select different colors and things. So if you only want the teapot in your picture to be blue, you can make the rest black and white, which is kind of a cool feature. And then it's kind of the same thing when you want something to be no matter if it's the only thing in color, you're instantly going to look at it. So you also have distort feature in this as well, much like the other one. Brightness, contrast, temperature. Temperature is a little bit more complicated because when you get into photography, you learn more about lighting and temperature. But basically, it's all about the color cast that it pushes out, so you can get a lot of different tonal ranges in reds, orange, yellows, greens, blues, violets, using the temperature. You just have to figure out which end is which, basically. But you can have a lot of fun with that as well. So, mobile artists.
So how much is the last one?
Last one's free. Pixay is a free one. There's a Pixay Pro that is $2.99, which I'm sure comes with more filters and also probably comes with a few different features, but not many more. I know it comes with a lot more filters. So, mobile artists. This is my personal favorite part of this entire movement that's coming through with mobile photography, is that you're actually seeing a lot of professional artists push to create these images that you would never expect came on phone. A lot of these images are really impressive. When I go through them, I have a couple slides of his. His name's Robert Cato. He is from the West Coast, and he exclusively uses iPhone and iPhone apps to create these images. Granted, he uses multiple apps, so these wouldn't all just be like using Instagram, because I would have no clue how he would do that. But he uses upwards to 9 to 12 apps just to push through one image. So he'll put it into Instagram, and then push it into a different one, and then pull it out to a different one to get the same kind of thing that he wants to do with it. So I got a couple of his. And I really loved his work as soon as I saw it. There's only so many mobile artists that have put themselves out there to say as much, like, I'm a mobile artist and I want to do this because it's how I like to perform. But his stuff is really impressive. I would highly suggest looking at it. He has an entire blog dedicated to it. And he probably has upwards to 100-ish images that, I mean, they must be time consuming because the way you push them through the apps, you have to bring them out and back in and through, so. And then even his images that are very simple are still the same way. Like, you still pull them through, but he can still create such completely abstract art. Completely abstract, and it's fascinating to me. He also uses the multiple layers of images that you can see here and then through the background. So he plays with a lot of different blending modes, and it is difficult, but it's obviously not unachievable. So I would contests. I was very interested to see this earlier this year. University of Indianapolis, Department of Art and Design, put through a juried cell phone competition, which is actually currently being exhibited at University of Indianapolis. But you could literally send them pictures that you took on your iPhone that you edited. You could do unedited, edited. They just had to be mobile-based, which was absolutely fascinating because I'd never seen anything like that. I was so excited that you could actually put these images through that you created on your phone and actually put them into a gallery setting. It changes it from such an informal thing to a formal piece of art. And it was a lot of fun to see that all work through. This specific contest was only open to residents living in Indiana, Illinois, Kentucky, Michigan, and Ohio, so basically the center Midwest. And they had awards too, which was really cool. So, I didn't talk about Twitter yet, so. This is a hashtag for something, so I remember I told you guys earlier that you guys can push your art out to the internet and, you know, really share it with people in communities like Instagram, and you have the option to put so many characters on it, and if you put a hashtag in front of it, basically what it does is it links this phrase to anyone else that uses the same phrase. So when you do just mobile art, this the theme for last month was in dedication to Steve Jobs. So what you do is you take an image, give it its title, and then put this hashtag there, and then it would link all the images that had the same hashtag into one setting. So you could look at all of them. So it's a good way to centralize everything, but also look at everyone's work all together. It's really awesome. And they use this through Twitter specifically. The next one is through a different function. But it was a really good way for digital artists to push through even small pieces of work in dedication. So I thought that was really cool. This mobile one down here is done through StreamZoo, which is something you have to sign up for online, but it works the same way where you would go ahead and use, it has an app that you can edit with as well. I didn't focus on it. It was a good app, but I wanted to focus on the other ones a little bit more. But StreamZoo is the same way. You can use images, and it's post-production, so you'll edit it in there, and then it'll put it into their database, basically. And you can go ahead and do the hashtag for free mobile, and it'll put them all together. Sharing your art, this one, probably should take this one first. There's a lot of different methods you can use to share your art with everyone. Twitter and Facebook, I would say, are two of the more commonly based ones, especially for word-based. But Twitter is really becoming picture-based as well, now that they have functions where you can actually send straight through the Twitter from your iPhone, which was a new feature that just came out in the ISO 5, which I thought was awesome. So I could just literally go to my picture and tweet it right from there. Like, I don't have to go to Twitter or anything. You have to log in once, but that's it. Facebook obviously has a huge picture base now where you can look through everybody's pictures that you're friends with, so that's also a good way to share. Tumblr is one of my favorite blogging sites that you can use. You can do the same with the hashtags in those in the comment section on the side if you go through. It's a really, really easy, clean, fun way to make a blog. It's really simple. They have tons of different layouts that you can use. Blogging for it's really become a big deal. I hadn't heard about it until the past 2 years, and I didn't realize how many people actually had it until I was actually going through it. And there's tons of stuff, and you can reblog other people if you like something, and it'll show up on your wall and back and forth, back and forth. So that's a good way. DeviantArt has been around for a really long time, and that's a more, I would say that a lot of people that want to share specifically art, Tumblr you can share anything, but DeviantArt is more specifically art. But it's the same concept where you would put an image through, use hashtags if you want, and then meld all these together. StreamZoo, which I just talked about, and then hashtags, like I said earlier, are really important if you want to share your art with everybody in one central mode. So I know that a lot of, like iPhoto now, you can do hashtags for your images if you want, and then what you can do is you can search for the hashtag, and it'll bring up all the images no matter what album it is, so you can see them all. So if you do, like, granddaughter, it'll pull in all the pictures of your granddaughter. Or if you want to do, like, kitten, same concept. So it'll pull them all in as long as you tag them. questions? Yes.
Do you consider the iPad pretty same as the iPhone, or are there different apps for that?
There are, so they make apps for both. The iPad, because it's a little bit newer and iPhone's been around a little bit longer, has more apps. iPad is catching up right now. The only difference is the iPad camera isn't as good as the iPhone camera. They haven't updated it or advanced it yet. You can still do a lot of the same things on it because iPhone apps will work on your iPad. So you can still edit on there if you want to, if it's a bigger base to do so with. I still use my iPhone because it's smaller, I can take it places faster, it's a little bit easier to do than grabbing a huge iPad to try and take a picture with, especially with where the button is and everything. So I still use my iPhone for everything. And plus the iPhone, I can show you guys this. The new iPhone feature is that when you're taking a picture, your volume up button, you can use it as a shutter. So you can take a picture like that with your two hands, which is kind of cool, instead of trying to hold it sideways and do the one thumb over. So that's a new function that they did, so do that. And knowing your camera part, just put that right in. So I would definitely suggest going through all the iPad options for phones and whatnot, especially for editing. It's a lot of fun, and it's easier to blog from iPads. Did it work? Yeah, there we go. Don't get your HDR started.
Could you tell us a little, just briefly, HDR, those of us who aren't familiar, you take 3 images and it blends, it takes 3 images.
It takes 3 images, and what it'll do is it'll keep your original image, so whatever you take, and then it'll take the 3 at the different exposures and meld it into one, so you'll have 2 images.
So you have to leave it still while it does its thing?
Well, it'll do it for you. It's pretty quick about it. Like I said, it takes a little bit longer, but you'll still, like I showed you guys earlier, were you here? Earlier when I had the HDR slide. Like, it's the same image, basically. It just takes longer to process because it needs to click through them faster, and then process them because they're bigger files. Especially the HDR one, because it's basically 3 images in one, so it's about triple the size. Yes.
How do you turn that on and off?
There's actually an option when you take the picture. It'll say HDR on or off at the top when you're in your camera setting. So if you go to it, go to picture, let me make sure I'm telling you. So the options in the center, you can click HDR or grid.
Yeah, okay. Oh,
So-
when I did grid, it came.
Yep, so grid will help you with rule of thirds, and then HDR will help you use different exposures. Yes.
Is there any way for you to speed up the shutters, I guess, speed of your camera?
Unfortunately, on the iPhones, in the standard, for Droid, I don't know if it's a function in the Droid. I don't think there is one. Don't quote me, but I don't think there is. In some applications, you can.
I think it also depends on phone too. I remember I had the original Motorola Droid and its actual camera was really slow, but some of the newer phones that are coming out right now, they put a better camera in there to make a faster shutter speed.
Well, I have the Arian, it's really good if you keep it still, but if you move it, it
Yeah.
takes a little bit longer, so I was wondering if there's
If you take it with more light, it'll work faster too. So if it's a really dark setting, it won't be able to pick up the image, and it'll think it needs to leave the shutter open. If you make sure you have more light in the image, it'll take faster. Because basically phones come with a function that you can basically hit 3 settings. You get slow, not so slow, and fast. And when it's really bright, it'll do fast, and when it's dark, it'll do slow, so it can pull in more light. So when you go through, if you add a couple lights, it'll really help with that kind of blur.
One other thing I did when I had a Droid is I used one of the, I think it was the Color Effects has a burst mode in it. The first one to take is a little bit slower that you may notice, but then the other 2 it does pretty quick, so you can try shooting in a burst mode to maybe get a little quicker photo.
Anybody have any other questions? Yes.
On the Galaxy Tab, you use the Android applications that you mentioned for that?
Yes. Yes, so you'll want to go through. And like I said, one of the best parts about using the app markets now is that they have a lot of light versions, which are the free versions of the more expensive versions, so that you can get a feel for them. Go ahead and buy them. It won't hurt you to go ahead and play with them. The worst you're going to do is come out with a couple images you don't like, which you can delete. So that's one of the really cool parts, is that you can test out anything and find your favorite app.